Before we begin this video, I want you to ask yourself, how do you get extraordinary people to go back and live a normal, extraordinary life, especially military veterans? And now we begin the adventures in training with Jon Kolb.
Forward! Left, right, left, right, left, 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 right, left, right, left, right, left, 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 right, left, right, left, right, left, 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 right, left, right, left, left, right.
Hi, my name's Jon Kolb. I grew up in Owasso, Oklahoma, in the little town of Owasso, Oklahoma. It's kind of unique. Maybe the only town in the country that if you don't become a football player by the time you're in the 9th grade, what happens is your parents will put you up for adoption and find a kid that can play. And so all my life I've been interested in how do I run faster, jump higher, how do I do those things to become more functional. So ended up working on that very hard. My dad was a big part of that in my life. My dad was a World War II veteran. That was, like I said, a big part of his life. He was mowing the lawn at 99 years, 8 months, and had a stroke the next day. Never was sick, and I think a lot of that was because he was always active. Again, why am I doing this? One of the reasons is because at his funeral, when they held up that flag, or folded it up and presented it to me, and I'd never been saluted before, that is something you never forget. So there's been several things that have connected me with the veterans. Part of it is the background of how do we improve function, not just to play sports, but for daily life. And the other part is that so many of my friends in my hometown, I got a scholarship to Oklahoma State University, they got scholarships to Vietnam. For some of them, that scholarship was a one-way ticket. Again, they did not come home, they came home with a flag over them. And again, me being in high school and college, that made an impression on me. So today we find that there's a lot of veterans that they've kind of exhausted the help, maybe exhausted the direction, and so that's what ATP, I believe, does, is we can use the last word there is purpose, help finding that purpose again. The name of the program is Adventures in Training with a Purpose. Each one of those words are significant to us. Adventure means we don't know for sure how things are going to turn out. You know, life is adventure. If we look at it that way, it kind of gets exciting. Training, I think, is very important. I think of it in terms of athletics or football. If you watch NFL in springtime, they have the NFL combines. What are they doing? They're having college athletes go, they run 40-yard dashes, they do vertical jumps, they do bench presses. Each one of those activities they measure with the idea is that's going to help that person or help that team decide, can this guy play football? But it's not till they go to training camp that you find out if they're a football player. Rehab is a lot like the NFL combine. There's a lot of numbers. When you walk in rehab, one of the first things they ask you is on a scale of 1 through 10, what's your pain level? And it kind of gets in a mindset of my pain level is a certain level, I may not be able to function. What we want to be able to do is train and function despite things that are holding us back. So training camp, we find out how well people can function. And we have people that are all pro Hall of Fame and they didn't run the fastest in the combine, but they function, they play very well. And so what we're trying to do with our veterans is similar to that. We're trying to restore that function that they had in the past and that may have been lost due to their injuries. The best way for me to describe what are the benefits and how it's geared toward the veterans is something my son said not long ago. My son Tanner is a strength coach at West Virginia, and he is training blind veterans and other blind kayakers, and they're going to go down the Colorado River. They're blind. And he was telling me about this one man, and he said, this guy's blind and he'll hit a rock in his kayak, he flips upside down, and he said this to me. He said, Daddy has a natural flip up. He said, as soon as he flips upside down, he hits that oar or paddle, and he flips right back up, and he keeps on going. He hits another rock, he's got a natural flip up, he flips back up. Now, when you're flipped upside down, what's going on? Your head is getting beat on the rocks. It's dark down there. You can't call out for help. You can't breathe. You can't survive very long down there. And so a lot of our veterans have lost their flip up. And so what this program really amounts to is helping veterans get that flip up. I think the other thing that for me ties it together actually comes from the Bible. There's a verse that says in Him, and it says three things. We live, we're alive. In the middle of that is an important word I want to get back to, we move. And the third thing is we have our being. You could substitute there and you wouldn't mess up the meaning, is we have our flip up. And that flip up is what makes us who we are, what makes us unique, what makes us like to watch football games, what makes us like sports, what makes us like music. That's our being. That's the natural flip up. And a lot of times we just see veterans, they've lost it. They're upside down. They're banging their heads on the rocks as they go upside down, and there's nobody to help them. They can't even ask for help because they're upside down. So the purpose of the program is really to help these men and women to get the flip up back so they can have that being, so they can have that uniqueness of who they are again. I'm very blessed. I never had to get a real job. In fact, I've never had a job. I had a career, but I never really had to get a job till I was 35. The reason is because I got to make my living playing sports, specifically playing football for the Steelers. A lot of people, again, get excited because we had the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl 4 times and win the Super Bowl 4 times. If you do that, function again, how fast I can run, how fast I can change directions, how strength, those are all critical parts to winning the football game. When you start to get older and you lose those skills, or you have an injury and you start to lose those skills, and you're a pro football player, you're going to rehab, you're going to work out twice a day. But if you are not a pro athlete, let's say you're a veteran, they're going to maybe train with you twice a week or 3 times a week. And again, it goes back a lot of times to numbers. Once you can bend your knee 119 degrees, then the insurance company, who doesn't even know you, it may say, okay, that's it. That's the function. But the training should never stop. Just like an athlete's training should never stop. Even after an athlete retires from the game, he needs to keep going so that he doesn't gain weight, so that he doesn't end up succumbing to diabetes. Same thing with veterans. We have to send that message, and it can't be something that you do twice a week as dictated by an insurance company. It has to be something that you do every day of your life, just like an athlete would. A lot of men and women, our identity is so important to us, and when we lose that identity, you know, you can have your name in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Every man that plays football aspires to do that. There's a place that I've seen names of my friends, and it's on the Vietnam Wall. And as I walk down through the Vietnam Wall, I see Johnny Tagman's name. I see Benny Coe's name. I see Alan Thomas's name. They were teammates of mine in high school. And seeing the sacrifice they made, and when I go back home and I see that graveyard, and their body is still in that graveyard, and I think of all the opportunities that I've had since then, our culture is screwed up in that how we honor people that play sports. That's great, we need to do that, but we don't want to forget the people that have really sacrificed and that are really the brave and really the courage. It's one thing to run down on a kickoff. I've done that. I've ran down on kickoffs in the NFL, ran down on kickoffs in college. I have never ran into enemy fire, but I have friends that have. And so who do we honor? You know, and I think we need to change the culture in this country, and that's what we're trying to do.